Hello and welcome to Religion Anatomy. Does AI prove free will is an illusion? Right now, before you finish watching this sentence, your brain has already decided what you're going to do next. Not you, your brain without asking you. And now, in 2025, artificial intelligence can predict that decision before your own conscious mind even registers it happened. That's not a metaphor. That's not philosophy. That is a laboratory fact. So here's the question that keeps neuroscientists, philosophers, and AI researchers up at night. A question that might be the most important one humanity has ever asked. If a machine can predict your every move before you make it, did you ever actually have a choice? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, the word choice is going to mean something completely different to you. And it might scare you. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, smash that subscribe button right now, because we cover the science and philosophy topics that mainstream media is too scared to touch. Today we are going inside one of the most mind-bending intersections of our time: artificial intelligence and the free will debate. This is not clickbait. This is peer-reviewed science, published philosophy, and the latest AI research, all pointing toward one genuinely terrifying conclusion. Let's get into it. The experiment that broke philosophy. To understand why AI is shaking the free will debate, we first need to go back to 1983. Because everything starts here. A neuroscientist named Benjamin Libet ran one of the most controversial experiments in the history of science. The setup was simple. Participants sat in a chair, wore EEG electrodes on their head, and were told, flex your wrist whenever you feel like it. And when you do, note exactly what time you see on this spinning clock face. Simple, right? What Libet found was not simple. He discovered that brain activity, what he called the readiness potential, began firing up to 550 milliseconds before the participant consciously felt the urge to move. Let that sink in. Your brain is already preparing to do something half a second before you think you decided to do it. The decision you think you're making? According to Libet's data, your unconscious brain made it first. Your conscious mind just got a memo. Now, to be fair, Libet himself didn't think his experiment killed free will completely. He famously said, "The tendency to press a button may be building up for 500 milliseconds, but the conscious mind retains the right to veto any action at the last moment. The free won't," as he called it. But the can of worms was opened, and other scientists immediately rushed in. In 2008, researchers Chun Seong-soon and colleagues published a bombshell study in Nature Neuroscience. Using fMRI brain scans, which give a much more detailed picture than EEG, they showed that a person's decision to push a button with their left or right hand could be predicted up to 10 seconds before the participant was consciously aware of their choice. 10 full seconds, not milliseconds. Seconds. Your brain is writing your future, and your conscious you doesn't even get an advance copy of the script. The Libet results had been replicated across labs worldwide. The scientific community had to accept conscious awareness lags behind neural decision-making. This was already devastating for the traditional concept of free will. But it was just the warm-up act, because then AI entered the room. Here's where it gets genuinely wild and genuinely recent. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley took brain scanning technology and combined it with machine learning algorithms. Their goal: could an AI predict what choice a person would make before they made it? The answer was yes. By monitoring real-time fMRI data and feeding it into machine learning models, researchers could forecast a person's decision before the person reported making it. Their own brain was broadcasting the decision on a channel that only AI could tune into, while the person was still convinced they were still deciding. Think about what that means. You are sitting in a room staring at two options. You feel the process of deliberating happening. You feel free in this moment. And somewhere, a computer, analyzing your neural patterns, has already printed out your final answer and sealed it in an envelope. But wait, it gets even more specific. In 2024, researchers at Helmholtz Munich unveiled an AI model called Centaur. This system was trained on data from more than 10 million human decisions collected across hundreds of psychology experiments. And what it did was extraordinary. It could emulate human decision-making patterns and reaction times with striking accuracy, even on tasks it had never seen before. Not just predict, emulate, meaning the AI doesn't just know what you'll do, it can think the way you think. And then there's this. In November 2024, a landmark study published in Nature, Human Behavior, led by researchers at University College London, showed that AI large language models outperformed human neuroscience experts in predicting the outcomes of neuroscience studies. The AI averaged 81% accuracy compared to just 63% for actual human experts. They even built a specialized AI called BrainGPT, trained exclusively on neuroscience literature, which hit 86% accuracy in predicting study results. The senior author of the study, Professor Bradley Love of UCL, made a comment that should make all of us pause. He said, "What is remarkable is how well LLMs can predict the neuroscience literature." This success suggests that a great deal of science is not truly novel, but conforms to existing patterns of results. Let that translate for a second. Even scientific discovery, the most creative, supposedly unpredictable human endeavor, follows patterns that AI can see coming. If AI can predict what neuroscience will discover next, what chance does your free choice at the vending machine have? How AI predicts you. The mechanics. Now, let's get specific about how this prediction works, because understanding the mechanism is what makes this debate real, not just theoretical. AI predicts human behavior in 3 stages. First, data collection. AI systems gather your past behavior, purchases, scroll patterns, watch history, clicks, pauses, searches. Every digital footprint you leave is a data point that maps the topology of your decision-making brain. Second, pattern recognition. The AI runs this data through layers of neural networks, systems architecturally inspired by, ironically, the human brain itself. It finds regularities, tendencies, the invisible grooves along which your choices always seem to roll. Third, predictive modeling. It builds a dynamic algorithm, essentially a mathematical model of you, and runs it forward in time. And here's the truly humbling part. Research has shown that our decision-making errors aren't even random. We make mistakes in formulaic, predictable patterns. A 2024 study described what they called a latent inference budget model, which discovered that humans and machines make systematic errors, not chaotic ones. And AI can identify those patterns and use them to forecast your next move. Companies like Amazon and Netflix have already industrialized this. Their recommendation algorithms predict what you'll buy or watch often before you feel the conscious desire to do so. The urge you feel to click on a recommended show, the AI may have engineered that urge by presenting the right stimulus at the right moment. This is where free will doesn't just look shaky. It starts to look like a product of manipulation. The question isn't just, did I choose this? The deeper question is, were the conditions of this choice manufactured for me? Now, and this is where we stay unbiased, free will is not dead yet. Not by a long shot. And the counter-arguments are serious. Let's start with the Libet experiment, because it's been heavily challenged. Critic WR. Clem, from Texas A&M University, published a detailed analysis identifying 12 categories of questionable conclusions in Libet-style research. He argued the experiments were too simple, too artificial, and that measuring a wrist flick tells us nothing definitive about complex human choices involving values, relationships, and morality. Fair point. A wrist flex is not the same as choosing to leave a job, end a relationship, or donate to charity. The decisions that define human life are infinitely more complex than anything an fMRI has captured so far. Then there's the philosophical counter-argument from Compatibilism, one of the oldest and most respected positions in this debate. Philosophers like Hobbes, Hume, and more recently Dennett argue that free will and determinism are not actually in conflict. Their position, freedom doesn't mean your choices are uncaused. Freedom means your choices flow from who you are. Your values, your reasoning, your character. If your brain makes the choice, and that brain is you, then the choice is free in every meaningful sense of the word. Neuroscientist Anil Seth, one of the most respected voices in consciousness research today, put it brilliantly. We are not passive observers of our predetermined fate. We are active participants in a process of becoming. And here's another scientific wrinkle that challenges the AI as mind reader narrative: quantum mechanics. Some physicists and philosophers argue that at the most fundamental level, the universe is not deterministic, it's probabilistic. Quantum events are genuinely random. If neurons operate at a level influenced by quantum effects, then your brain may be operating on processes that are, in principle, unpredictable. A 2012 theoretical paper on uncomputability and free will went further, arguing that the free will aspect of cognitive systems may be fundamentally unsimulable, meaning AI might hit a wall it can never climb over, precisely at the point where human consciousness lives. The Frontiers in AI Journal published research in January 2026, making a point that I think is deeply important. It noted, an algorithm may predict the fastest route, but only a human decides to take a scenic detour for reasons of beauty, memory, or ritual. AI can model behavior. It cannot model a meaning, and meaning, the sense that your choices matter, that they are yours for reasons that go beyond utility, may be the core of what free will actually is.
What this means for your life right now. Okay, so where does this leave us practically right now in 2025 and 2026? Because this isn't just philosophy class.
This is your daily life being shaped by these questions in real time. Scenario 1. Criminal justice. If your choices are determined by brain wiring you didn't choose, childhood environment you didn't choose, genetic predispositions, you didn't choose, what does moral responsibility even mean? This is already being argued in courts. Neuroscience evidence is being used in criminal defense cases to argue that defendants' brains were wired in ways that made criminal behavior statistically inevitable. Scenario 2. Advertising and manipulation. If AI can predict your decisions and it can be used to engineer the conditions that trigger those decisions, then your free choice to buy something, vote for someone, or believe something may not be as free as it feels. The predictive AI systems running social media feeds are not neutral. They are optimized to produce specific behaviors. Your scroll, your click, your rage, all anticipated, all engineered. Scenario 3. Mental health. Research from neuroscientist Matthias Pesciglione has shown that our decisions can be shaped through unconscious brain responses without a single moment of conscious awareness. People can be guided to feel in control of choices that were actually steered. This has enormous implications for how we treat depression, addiction, and compulsive behavior, because it suggests that changing the inputs can change the choices without the person needing to deploy willpower at all. And this is the most honest thing I can tell you. We don't have a final answer. The smartest minds in neuroscience, philosophy, and AI are genuinely divided. What we do know is this. 1. Your conscious mind makes decisions later than your brain starts making them. That is established. 2. AI can predict many of your choices with alarming accuracy. That is demonstrated. 3. The conditions under which you make choices can be manipulated at scale by systems smarter than any individual. That is happening right now. What we do not know is whether any of this eliminates genuine agency or simply reveals that agency was always more complex, more embodied, more relational than we imagined. Let me leave you with this. Every single morning you wake up and you make choices: what to eat, what to wear, who to call, what to say. And you feel deeply, undeniably that those choices are yours. Neuroscience says your brain started making them before you decided. AI says it can see them coming before you feel them. Philosophy says that might not matter because the you making the choice is the brain making the choice. And somewhere in between all of that is the life you're actually living. So here is the question I want you to sit with. And honestly, I want you to fight about it in the comments, because this is one of those questions where there is no right answer, only honest ones. If an AI can predict every decision you will make for the rest of your life with perfect accuracy, does that mean your life was already written? Or does it just mean that you are consistent enough to be understood? And isn't that actually a sign of character, not a loss of freedom? Drop your answer below. I will be reading every single comment. If this video made you think, share it with someone who you think needs to have this conversation. Because the people who don't ask this question are the most vulnerable to having their choices made for them. Subscribe if you haven't already. We drop deep dives like this every week. I'll see you in the next one.